Hi everyone and welcome to this video. In this video I will be talking about my birding adventures during the month of July. July is the end of spring migration when nests are being incubated and fledglings have fledged. I was inspired to do this video after watching Leslie the Bird Nerd's Bird Nerd Diaries. Although I do not go birding every day, so I do not have as much information and data as her. I hope to continue this monthly series of videos. I was excited and taken back by hearing my first barred owl for the season. I imitated their calls by cupping my hands and saying, "Who cooks for you? Who cooks for you all?" A second one joined in. Soon I heard screeching calls. At first I thought it was a barn owl or an eastern screech owl, but it turned out to be juvenile barred owls. I opened my Audubon app to play some calls, and while I was looking across my yard, a barred owl flew across and quickly landed in a nearby tree, calling when it landed. Although barbecues are common on Independence Day because of coronavirus, I decided to go birding. I was longing for my first scarlet tanager and my first warbler, so I made a trip to Alana State Historic Site, which is a long drive from where I live. And no, I do not live in the city. I had never seen or heard any warblers, and since it was prime warbler season, I was in luck. Please keep in mind that I do a lot of birding by ear, so that's why I can add so many sightings. Most of my warbler luck was in Maine deciduous forest. I was walking down the path when I heard a yellow warbler, my first warbler. A while down the path, I saw an orchard oriole, a rare oriole near Alana. I kept adding to my list with plenty of new warblers. Then I saw it, about 54 feet from the ground, a low point for this bird, and closest it would get to the ground. I looked up and saw 3 feet above me, a male scarlet tanager.
Okay, so as I edit this, I realize that makes no sense how I was able to see it 50 feet above the ground, but it was 3 feet away from me. It's because where I was, it was like a bowl-shaped area, and I was saying it's like 50 feet from the bottom of the bowl, and I was at the top of the bowl because it was a path, and that's how I was able to see the tanager up close.
He looked at me and proceeded to flit to other trees until I could no longer see him. Sadly, I couldn't get a picture because every time I tried to take a picture, he flew to a different tree. That made my day. The warblers I heard in the whole day include blue-winged warbler, blackburnian warbler, pine warbler, magnolia warbler, Wilson's warbler, cerulean warbler, black-throated green warbler, and American redstart. Then I came across a field where I heard both the eastern and western meadowlarks. Western meadowlarks are common and breed in New York State according to the New York State Ornithological Association, or newyorkbirds.org. I also saw indigo buntings, an eastern kingbird, red-winged blackbirds, a song sparrow, a gray catbird feasting on berries, purple finch, pine grosbeak, eastern wood pewees, and an American goldfinch. I was sweating so much it was dripping in my eyes, so I went up the hill into the shade of an old barn. I saw a rock pigeon going in and out of a hole in the top. I assumed that they were building a nest in the rafters because both the male and the female were carrying nesting material. Then I saw a female brown-headed cowbird being chased by 2 males. My best guess that was she was choosing a mate and it was a courting group. Darting in front of me, and then out to a meadow, I saw both tree and barn swallows. If you would like to learn about barn swallows, watch my video titled Barn Swallows. As I was making my way back to the parking lot, I walked through some coniferous forest where I saw a yellow-rumped warbler. I raised my phone to take a picture of it, but right when I hit the camera app, the warbler flew away. I didn't want to go on a big, long birding day, so I took my bike for a ride. If you would like to learn how to ride on a bike while bird watching, I would recommend my video titled Birding on a Bike. I was originally planning on going to an open marsh, but I ended up seeing more birds at a small enclosed marsh off a road close to my house. Before I reached the marsh, I heard a black and white warbler. I had not heard this at Olana, so I was excited to hear it. As I rode past the small marsh, I saw some darting birds, so I turned my bike around and looked at the marsh. I was amazed to see purple martins and bank swallows, a whole family of bank swallows, darting in the air, which is a typical behavior for swallows because they are aerial insectivores. I also saw the amazing red-winged blackbird. Although I have seen them before, they never get old. I know I'm going off track here, but I remember when I saw my first red-winged blackbird. It was back in 2016. I was not a birder then. I was in a canoe and I saw it. It amazed me. Its black feathers with its bright red wing band. Anyway, back to July 7th birding, not 2016 birding. The last thing I saw at the small marsh was a mountain bluebird, a rare visitor to New York State. I'm pretty sure my heart skipped a couple beats when I saw its blue gradient body. When I finally got to the large marsh, I was able to see an eastern bluebird go in and out of a nest, probably feeding nestlings. See the picture I added. I was on the prowl for some ducks. For some dang reason, I had lucked out on finding ducks. It was like they were hiding from me. I couldn't even see an easy mallard. I traveled to a couple of locations in hopes of seeing at least a mallard, not even an American black duck. I had a gut feeling that I was going to see no ducks, but I tried to stay optimistic and tell those thoughts to go away. Just like my channel name, The Optimistic Ovenbird. First, I went to Tivoli Bays State Park. Again, a long drive, but actually worth it. The parking lot had a board with a map, and on the map I saw an iBird New York sticker, so my hopes were high. I ended up hearing my first Lincoln sparrow and swamp sparrow. I also found 2 blue jay flight feathers, but I didn't pick them up because that's against the law. I was bummed out that I couldn't even hear a bittern. As I was walking up to the parking lot, I saw a red-bellied woodpecker fledgling, and although it's not a new species from my life list, I was lucky to see a fledgling. I went to a couple of other rundown state parks and saw and heard nothing but common birds. On my way to one of the farther state parks, I saw a peregrine falcon diving down over the highway. My last birding location before I gave up was at Skodak Island State Park. For me, the more upstate I go, the creepier it gets, especially on a cloudy day. No offense to Skodak Island State Park, but it's a bit run down. Their trails are dark and overgrown and the signs are highly graphic because of vandalism. I'm still a little scarred from seeing the sign vandalized to look like a bleeding cerulean warbler was mating with a coyote. Although, onto less grisly news, I saw my first bald eagle. I also heard my first black-throated blue warbler and saw my first grasshopper sparrow. I started a couple of trails and went to a dock, but all I saw was a robin and a catbird. I was encouraged by a friend to try one last trail before we left. I went a little bit down the trail, but it was getting cloudy and I had a gut feeling that I wasn't going to see anything. A whiles down the trail, I wanted to turn back. I don't know why, my brain was just yelling at me, "Go back, go back." I was almost to the start of the trail when I saw a brown thrasher, a new bird for me. Then I left.
Somehow I cut this out, but I saw a black vulture on the way to my house.
The speed limit was quite high, so I didn't get a good look at it, but I was able to identify it. I hate the way turkey vultures look, but oddly I find black vultures cute. That was the end of my birding for that day. That day was an awesome day. Instead of trying to achieve my mallard goal far upstate, I tried some local areas. I will not list them because they would give you my location easier, and I still want to have a private lifestyle. I tried a small park by a river and saw no mallards, but I did hear a prothanotary warbler, and I saw a great blue heron. Great blue herons are not a new bird for me, but I do know one that hangs near that park. Then I proceeded to a waterfront by a popular seafood restaurant. And by the way, it's not a fast food chain, it's just a popular restaurant in my area. Personally, I love their Shirley Temples and French fries. Their portobello sandwich tastes terrible, but I do like the pesto. I'm getting sidetracked. This location is where I became overjoyed. I saw a female rose-breasted grosbeak, American black ducks, some mallards, some northern rough-winged swallows, and 2 fish crows. When me and my friend first pulled up, I heard the fish crows, which caught my attention. Although I was satisfied with my results, I decided to go to one last park where I saw my first sanderling. This is exciting because I have a hard time finding shorebirds. I was satisfied, so I went home. Although I have not mentioned my house yet as a birding location, I was sitting on my back deck on my phone. I heard a ruckus and looked up. Above me was 2 tricolored herons. They were so low they blocked out the sun. This is because my backyard is a couple acres away from a swamp. This day I didn't go birding, but I did see 2 new birds. I put some peanuts out on my back deck for some sort of bird, and I saw a common redpoll. This was super exciting since you normally see them in the winter. Earlier that day, I went outside to water my garden and I heard an olive-sided flycatcher's unforgettable, quick 3 beers song. I also have hummingbird feeders in my front yard and I've been seeing a lot of ruby-throated hummingbirds. This is my attempt at late-night birding. I'm more of an early bird than a night owl, so I didn't stay up for long. I was hoping to hear an eastern whippoorwill, but instead I heard 3 new birds, which is still good. I heard a yellow-billed cuckoo, a red-breasted nuthatch, which is rare in my area, and a yellow-breasted chat's rapid night song. I also heard barred owls and saw one sitting on my garden fence post. I only went birding at sunset in my backyard, and although I tried to stay up later, I still ended up sleeping by 10:30 p.m. July 14th. This is actually an interesting day because I never planned to go birding that day. In order to understand why I even ended up birding, I would need to tell you the backstory. I woke up about an hour earlier than I normally do during the summer. Not because of an alarm. I heard a Chuck's Will's widow. I woke up to it and realized it could be a whippoorwill, but I made the decision to identify it later in the day when I was completely awake. I tried to fall back asleep, but I was dead awake. I quickly got ready and went to my back deck. What I heard and saw was amazing, although I only saw one thing because my eyes were still half closed and from being groggy, I saw an American pipit. I heard a lot of birds. These birds are the Swainson's thrush, veery, brown-headed nuthatch, palm warbler, yellow-throated vero, yellow-bellied sapsucker, pine warbler, bicknell's thrush, red-bellied woodpecker, pileated woodpecker, northern flicker, which those 3 aren't new, but still good to mention, golden-crowned kinglet, American three-toed woodpecker, red-headed woodpecker, warbling vero, northern water thrush, Savannah sparrow, blackpoll warbler, black-backed woodpecker, black-billed cuckoo, and a Cape May warbler. I did hear 2 surprising birds. I heard a northern saw-whet owl, and so did my chicken, because they froze when it called. Later, when I was entering my sightings, I heard a black-capped chickadee, my first one this year. I was super excited, but also sad because I know that chickadees in my area are a sign of winter. I know that this is an opinion with no factual evidence, but it's what I've observed even before I became a crazy bird girl. Early morning birding is fun, and you will hear and see a bunch of cool stuff, but I will warn you, if you are so determined that you don't eat, like me, you could feel like throwing up, just like I did. I didn't throw up, I just felt like throwing up. July 15th, I saw my first blue-gray gnatcatcher at my house, and July 17th, I heard my first worm-eating warbler. July 18th, I didn't officially go birding, but while picking up breakfast at a local business, I saw a boat-tail grackle. By an apple orchard, I saw a black-billed magpie, and in my own backyard, I saw a brown creeper. July 19th, I heard my first Canada warbler. July 20th, I was being followed by a female blue grosbeak. I didn't know what it was, but I knew it was in the grosbeak family because its beak helped me identify it. Although I would like to see a male, I am lucky that the female even let me stare at her and listen to her. July 21st was my last sighting of the female blue grosbeak and was my first hearing of common ravens. I always heard them when I was younger, and now I know what it is. July 22nd, I saw my Carolina wren friends. They were nesting under my pool deck and finally fledged. On July 4th, they hopped out of the nest but couldn't fly because they were branchlings. On the 22nd, I saw the juveniles and parents playing under a pine tree in my front yard. July 23rd, it rained. I love rainy days, so I went outside to take notes on a book. After the storm, I saw and heard 6 black-capped chickadees and 6 tufted titmice caching food for the winter. I looked down and saw some blue-gray gnatcatchers foraging under a hemlock tree and a field sparrow taking a bath in a puddle, which was very cute. I walked into the forest just a bit and I saw a downy woodpecker and my first house finch. This was a great birding day. I went birding at a spit. That's not slang, look it up. I am still amazed at all the species I saw. As I walked to a trail, I heard a great crested flycatcher, alder flycatcher, willow flycatcher, and an acacian flycatcher. In the parking lot, I saw a mourning dove. I know they are common, but they are such beautiful birds. On the trail leading to the spit, I saw a marsh wren and a wood duck. Sadly, it was a female, but still, such a beautiful bird. If you'd like to learn more about wood ducks, look into my Duck Series playlist. After that, I saw a swamp sparrow. I heard an American bittern. I was almost to the spit when I saw a kinglet without its crest raised. I stopped, listening to its song. There were so many mockingbirds on that trail, I couldn't tell if it was a mockingbird song or that bird's song. Then I nearly fainted when it raised its ruby crest. No matter what I saw at the spit, seeing the ruby-crowned kinglet was awesome. As I came to the end of the trail, I saw a sign that said no walking on the water during high tide. Luckily, it was low tide, so I was able to go in the water. My shoes and socks were soaking wet, but it was so worth it. I heard a ruckus and looked up. On top of an old crane was an osprey nest. See the picture I took. There were some nearly fledged young in the nest, and the parents were feeding them fish from the spit. Then a flock of juvenile yellow-headed blackbirds flew overhead. I looked out and saw 2 little blue herons, a surprising juvenile sandhill crane, and although they do breed here, it's always a treat, and I saw a snow goose fly overhead. I was about to move when I came across a friendly group of shorebirders. You can tell that someone is a shorebirder when they have water shoes on, are carrying a tripod and camera, and have a circle around their eye. This is from staring through the camera all day. They told me that there was a great egret to the east. I went a little bit to the east and saw it, a great egret, as well as some herring gulls. The birds I heard are dickencell, rusty blackbird, common loon, bobolink, horned lark, and belted kingfisher. It was a good day to go birding. July 27th, I spent the day at home, but I heard both of these new species, a loggerhead shrike and a northern goshawk. July 29th, I saw a red-tailed hawk at my home. And lastly, July 31st, I saw a non-breeding snow bunting. This is rare, but I assumed it was off course for fall migration. I also heard a gray-cheeked thrush. July was a great birding month, although, again, it is sad to see the end of spring migration. I can't wait for August. Well, technically I am making this video in August, and spoilers, I hear a new tanager. Thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe.